The third and final chapter to Christopher Nolan's epic Batman saga, this 165-minute crime drama superhero adventure, is not only the longest Batman adaptation to date. At a budget of $250 million, it's also one of the most expensive movies ever produced. Released nationwide at midnight earlier today, this ridiculously hyped and highly anticipated feature will likely break numerous box office records on its way past the billion-dollar mark. Striving for the grand spectacle of the previous installment, Nolan has taken everything up a level, filming an unprecedented 70 minutes of this picture in IMAX, a Hollywood record. Any self-respecting fan of cinema owes it to themselves to seek out the nearest IMAX theater and enjoy this film the way it was intended, on a 72-foot tall screen. The presentation in this format is absolutely breathtaking. 8 years after Joker unleashed mayhem on Gotham City in The Dark Knight, Batman's troubled story continues, with Christian Bale once again reprising his role as the gruff-talking costume crime fighter, but only after he returns from his shambled life of exile in the newly rebuilt Wayne Manor.
For years, I've been shuttering and consolidating all the different prototypes under one roof. My roof.
Why?
Keep them from falling into the wrong hands.
Oh, now you're just showing off.
Defense Department projects, tight geometry, urban pacification. Rotors are configured to maneuver between buildings without recirculation.
What's it called?
Now, it has a long, uninteresting Wayne Enterprises designation. I just took to calling it the Bat. And yes, Mr. Wayne, it does come in black.
Kicking things off is a bombastic and hugely entertaining action sequence, one of many in the film. But its importance to the overwrought plot isn't particularly clear. This thrilling and original mid-air jet takeover is orchestrated by Batman's newest foe, the evil and often difficult to understand Bane, played by a nearly unrecognizable Tom Hardy. Early focus groups allegedly had difficulty hearing and understanding this masked menace, so the unfortunate solution has Bane's voice mixed twice as loud as every other character on screen, creating a noticeably unrealistic disconnect, at least from a sensory perspective. Hardy does a fine job on the role though, truly giving Batman a worthy adversary in their numerous battles with each other. But the character lacks any believable motivation or background for the terrible acts he unleashes on the millions of citizens of Gotham. From violent fistfights and Batmobile car and air chases, to the huge crowd battles and giant terrorist attacks, this movie's excitement rarely slows down. Where the Dark Knight breezes from one scene to the next with a steadfast purpose, Rises, although never becoming boring, often seems to aimlessly drift from one scene to the next, their connection and motivation more convoluted than necessary. Even with a lengthy 165-minute runtime, Nolan clearly has difficulty juggling the dozens of big-name actors in this picture, as only a few are developed to any real satisfaction. Michael Caine, Morgan Freeman, and Gary Oldman all reprise their roles, with Caine turning in a tremendously memorable performance. He even tears up during an emotional confrontation with Bale. The love and history between these characters is arguably the foundation of the entire trilogy, and it's for this reason The Dark Knight Rises ultimately succeeds, despite its many faults. Other additions to the cast include a playful and sultry Anne Hathaway as Selina Kyle, a stealthy burglar who moonlights as the Catwoman. Joseph Gordan-Levitt turns in a very strong performance as a rookie cop whose life as a troubled orphan shares many parallels with Bruce Wayne. And lastly, Marion Cotillard as Bale's romantic foil and business associate, who was mostly underutilized until the final act. Some familiar faces from the previous films make some welcome cameos, which combined with some clever callbacks and flashbacks to the earlier entries, adeptly tie the entire trilogy together rather well. Sadly though, no mention or explanation of Joker is ever provided, his fate left a mystery. When our villains finally unleash a terrifying ultimatum on the city of Gotham, the narrative very curiously waits 3 months before anything is done about it, effectively draining the movie of any urgency it once had. It's an awful misstep that unfortunately weakens the otherwise strong action, stunts, and dialogue that surround it. Thankfully though, the aforementioned traits really save an otherwise bloated and wayward film, as it roars back in the final act. The dauntingly involved trilogy is capped off with an absolutely stunning final 30 minutes of nail-biting action, particularly a plot twist-heavy epilogue that will surely bring a smile to your face. Spectacle on the grandest scale, grounded by incredible performances, powerful characters, fantastic makeup and costumes, and a brooding soundtrack, this final chapter is a worthy and fulfilling conclusion to Batman's epic story. The Dark Knight Rises, immeasurably splendid entertainment, if flawed. Well, that was my carefully written review. Now let's check out some of your thoughts on this movie from the YouTube comments. Here's the Rate-O-Matic again, this time to score The Dark Knight Rises. A 9 and a 10. You loved this immense final chapter, calling it epic, fantastic, intense, and greatly satisfying. Although some did acknowledge the faults I addressed, you scored this film an amazing. It was widely unreasonable for me to assume that this picture could ever live up to the massive hype or groundbreaking accomplishments of its predecessor, but the enormous size and scope of this epic definitely outweighed the numerous faults, plot holes, and other curious quirks I had issue with. I felt this was an awesome movie, one that will surely reward repeat viewings.